Can you believe the November camp is here? I just wanted to say that because everyone I'm walking around, can you believe it's Halloween? Can you believe it's Thanksgiving? I go, yeah, we say this every year. Years are fast. Bad news. Take advantage of every day because this is a sprint. Kids, don't waste any days. 6 hours sleep instead of 8. Although I like my 8 hours sleep from time to time. Get out there, enjoy yourselves, work hard. Because it is November. And after 2 friendlies in September, 2 friendlies in October, the November camp rolls around. Gregg Berhalter has announced the roster. This is a game that matters. We're not playing Germany or Ghana or Uzbekistan or Oman. We're playing Trinidad and Tobago. And we have talked about the Copa America ad nauseum for a year. We still have to qualify for it. Plus, we have to defend the Nations League. So we're down to 8 teams, and this is our opponent. We win this, we get to the semifinal show of the Nations League Extravaganza. And we get by Trinidad and Tobago. We qualify for the Copa America. We'll qualify for the Copa America, but don't you get a little bit nervous? A little bit. A little bit. There's some items here that we'll get into that should make you nervous. I don't think by any means the USA over 2 legs get knocked out by Trinidad and Tobago. But, I mean, and there's a second chance to qualify. But then we get really nervous. So I want to take care of business. But we'll discuss all of that here on the Soccer OG. Check out the Soccer OG. I have a lot brewing right now. I'm really excited. Can you tell? Wore a nice shirt. Did my hair all nice. Check out the Soccer OG podcast where all podcasts are available. If you haven't heard the Soccer OG podcast, hear it now. Let me know on the YouTube page in the comments what you thought, what I should be doing. I want your feedback. I want to listen to your feedback across the board. I have a great show this week. We'll talk about VAR. We'll talk about Copa Libertadores and Thomas Rongen, whose life is depicted in the new Searchlight Films movie, Next Goal Wins, which I'll be at the premiere next week. I'll tell you how it is my guest. Thomas is a breath of fresh air. Goes to the beat of a different drummer. So check that out where all podcasts are available. And breaking news, and I want to say thank you to fellow YouTuber, USMNT YouTuber, tactical manager, Felipe, and there's a bunch of guys that are going to be going to the USA Trinidad game in Austin, Texas on November the 16th. I will be there. I'll be pumped to see you guys if you're around there. Say hello. We'll be pushing some content, creating some content out of Austin, Texas over those couple days. So a lot going on the Soccer OG, and I want you guys to be part of it. Let's have a good time in Austin, Texas, where the old Red River runs through and where Bob Wills is still the king. I'm a big country western guy. Old school country western. And like and subscribe us here. Hit that like button. Good. Let's get into it. The U.S. men's national team roster for the 2 November games. Here are the games first. November 16th at Austin. November 20th down at the Hasely Crawford Stadium in Port of Spain. We all remember Trinidad and Tobago. We beat them, so we shouldn't lose them. We beat them 6-0 in the Gold Cup in June or July. So it was June. So we shouldn't be worried about them. But the famous loss was to Trinidad and Tobago in 2017, which knocked us out of the World Cup in Cuba. I'm surprised TNT didn't go the PR route and put it back in Cuba at the Addo Bolden Stadium. Addo Bolden is a track and field legend from there, and he's a broadcaster. Every time I see him broadcasting track and field, I go, oh, Addo Bolden, because it was the Addo Bolden Stadium. Famously won 4 medals. He got the silver in the Sydney 2000 Olympics in 100 meters. Pretty good. Pretty good. Second fastest man on the planet at one time. And the man whose namesake was one of our worst nightmares in soccer. It's not going to be in Cuba. It's going to be the bigger stadium there at the Hasely Crawford in the capital. That's the second leg. This is the roster that Gregg Berhalter is going to bring with him. 24 players. We know about who's not there. But I would tell you this, and I think a lot of people agree with you, if you're looking for snubs, it's a short list. It may not even be a list. It may not even be one name. You won't see Christian Pulisic, obviously. You won't see Timothy Weah. You won't see Tyler Adams. Other guys like Jordan Pefok, Josh Sargent, all injured, unavailable. But the big ones are Pulisic, Weah, and Adams. And Adams has been out September and October. Pulisic and Weah are new for November. They have been there every game. So that's part of the reason you get a little nervous, because there's two big holes in that lineup. Pulisic and Adams was an all-time starter, but they've found ways to fill for him. Not all that effectively, as we saw against Germany, by the way. But now the two wingers, that's really our best position. Pulisic and Weah, the most consistent, and that's the way we attack. So two new players are going to have to come in there. Maybe they're not traditionally wingers, which is another nerve-wracking moment. Again, we're not losing the TNT. But this isn't a perfect scenario, right? We all know that. Just with Christian Pulisic, Tyler Adams, those are our two captains. Adams is the captain. Pulisic would be the captain, has been the captain. And then you have Tim Weah, who is just lock it down every day, effective. You can't say that about a lot of players. I don't think you can say that about any player that gets the consistency of Tim Weah. So I put together a starting 11, but it could change here. It's going to be a 4-3-3. I mean, some people are saying maybe a 3-5-2, and you bring in Ricardo Pepi. I just don't think they're going to do that there. I listened to the Gregg Berhalter press conference, and he gave you some clues that, bringing in players that they have seen at the U.S. camp, even though they may not be playing a whole lot. Matt Turner, there you see, let's flash that up there. Matt Turner will be in goal. He's no longer the starter at Nottingham Forest. A question was asked of Gregg Berhalter and talked about the goalkeepers. Ethan Horvath is on that roster. He's not starting either. But Gregg Berhalter felt that by January that would be resolved. And Gaga Slonina's not going to start. He's the only one playing, but he's too green. So Matt Turner is going to be the goal. And then the back four, why disturb the waters too much here? Anthony Robinson, Team Ream, Chris Richards, Serginho Dest. The midfield, Weston McKennie, Yunus Musa. And I'll go category by category after the 11 so I can get this big graphic off the screen. Weston McKennie, Musa, I think in an inverted eights there, with Malik Tillman is the number 10. Gio Reyna, not that he's the best winger, but you want him on the field. And you want Tillman, I think, who's been playing very well. And then there are some guys on that roster, Kevin Paredes, Alejandro Zendejas, who are pure wingers that would make sense there. And I think they both might get in there. But I would imagine that even though Brendan Aronson has not been performing, that he gets in there. Brendan Aronson and his brother Paxton both called into this, which was a very special moment for this roster. I think we should publicize that a little bit more. What a special moment to have two brothers on the team together in an important game. But I think he'll go with Brendan Aronson. Brendan Aronson, Gio Reyna, and Folarin Balogun. And that's asking a lot of guys. Gio Reyna well out of his position, not playing at club. Brendan Aronson not really playing, came on a little bit for Champions League. Playing as a midfielder when he does play at his club, and now you're going to put him there. And then Balogun. It's far from perfect. It's far from ideal. But we will see. Let's stay with the attack, because I think that really is the most compelling. Kevin Paredes is making his breakthrough at Wolfsburg. Alejandro Zendejas, who we saw in the summer, didn't look good, but is playing great for Club America, which has been a dominant force in Mexican football this year. He has been in these U.S. camps, so I think Zendejas has a real shot to start there. Maybe it's not Reyna, or Reyna moves into the number 10 and Tillman moves to the bench. Remember, there are two games. Gregg Berhalter emphasized that too, that he wants to use the width and breadth of this roster. But even though there is some depth, it's very green and it's very raw. So you have to lean into the experience. USMNT leaning into experience this past year and a half is what's done them well. Certainly post-World Cup last year. It's been almost a year since the World Cup. Don't you start. Don't even say, can you So I think you lean in there, and then you don't bring in Brendan to ride the bench. If you want someone to ride the bench, you bring in maybe Taylor Booth or someone else. So I think there's plans there, and he's kind of touched on that. He kind of touched that he could play, that Brendan's played that winger position for the USMNT. So I'm confident that's what it would look like. Maybe Reyna, Tillman move around, but why? He also mentioned that there are going to be players in the midfield ranks that will fill in up top. It's a bigger midfield group. The forwards group was really took a big hit without Pulisic and Weah, and that opened the door for Paredes, who probably doesn't make this roster otherwise, and probably for Zendejas, who doesn't make this roster otherwise. So there we go. I think those guys could see some action. We're all excited about Paredes. The good news about Kevin Paredes is that he's hitting every spot. You know, he really started at the bottom at Wolfsburg, wasn't playing. Now he's playing, he's scoring, starting some games. Good news there. Alejandro Zendejas, we think he's great, but he just hasn't done well on the national team level, but he gets another shot here. But I don't think he's going to get too many more, especially when everyone's healthy. The midfield, I included Tillman in the midfield, in the attack, but technically he is the tip of the spear in the midfield. And Weston McKennie and Yunus Musa, again, don't disturb the waters. So that is pretty straightforward 11, except for the wingers. I think we can all probably guess 8, if definitely 7, if not 9 of the positions here. And then we will have to see what happens in the second leg. Hopefully they have a huge advantage after the first leg and they can ease on into the second one knowing the Copa America. Because let's face it, man, it is nerve-wracking because the Copa America is such... Our chances of doing well in the World Cup are hugely hindered if we don't qualify for the Copa America. And I'm not putting it out there. I'm just saying this is what the USA is thinking of. And Gregg Berhalter is telling this team, guys, we've got to be watertight. We've got to play a certain way. We can't make mistakes so that we can push through here, get the results, and then prepare our 2024 calendar. Miles Robinson, the only MLS player on this roster. Maybe some MLS players were left alone because they're in the middle of their playoffs. I don't think there are too many out there that would have warranted it. Maybe you could make a case for Jesus Ferreira, but he's not quite there, and he's in the midst of a deep playoff push. Maybe some of the kids there that are coming through. Maybe Walker Zimmerman. I don't know. I think that this is our roster. I think it's going to be, by and large, 90% European-based. And the older group, as we said in the past, probably have seen their last big international dates, games like this. May get called in for some other ones. So defensively, I wanted to touch on a couple things because there were concerns for me. The Germany game, they were just tore to shreds. It was part of the midfield was out of whack. But Richards and Ream struggled, and the Germans scored, 3 goals? Could have scored 7 goals. It was rough. Chris Richards isn't really playing. Tim Ream, you can see, on the decline for the first time in many years. So Cameron Carter-Vickers would be an opportunity. Miles Robinson gets another call-up, so he certainly is going to warrant getting some minutes here. Many big guys like Mark McKenzie were not brought in. John Brooks, and I will say this, Gregg Berhalter brought up John Brooks' name and said he is under consideration, and that is something I think that is optimistic for Brooks. He's played well enough, and if these guys struggle, I don't know if, God forbid they allow 2 goals to TNT. He's going to look at other options based on what happened in October. Chris Richards just is not hitting those spots. We want to put him there based on potential, but he doesn't get any more of those freebies anymore. He's just not been good enough. He's got to find a new club, like so many other Americans, which is a disturbing part of all of this. Not too many, 5 or 6. And I wouldn't include Matt Turner. He should stay where he is, even though he's not playing with Nottingham Forest. That's the way it goes. But all that's in play here. So 2024 could see a wide variety of different options. Just a quick overview of this tournament. There's 8 teams left. It's the CONCACAF Nations League. There's 2 big payoffs. You make the semifinals. We knew how much fun we've had in that tournament the last 2 editions in Denver, and was it in Vegas? USA winning both. Let's do it again. The 4 seeded teams are USA, Mexico, Canada, Costa Rica. Costa Rica's playing Panama, Canada's playing Jamaica, Mexico's playing Honduras, USA's TNT. These are the top 8 teams that made it. The non-seeded teams had to go through a qualifier like TNT to make it, and here we are. It's a fun little tournament. We have no other choice. We've got to make the best out of our CONCACAF. We've got to keep an eye on who we can get games with down the road to get better, but in the meantime, we hope this does it. And I will say this, a competitive game, after a long time without a officially competitive game, will stimulate these guys. They know it. USA knows. They don't want to leave anything up for chance. They're going to come out and get it. But it's going to be interesting because some guys that wouldn't be playing that will play the Soccer OG. Check out the Soccer OG podcast where all podcasts are available. Come out November 16th. We'll be down there in Austin, Texas for this first game against Trinidad and Tobago. Like and subscribe us here. We'll be back. We'll see you in Texas.